Hi, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use mixed references in Microsoft Excel so that your formulas are much more secure when copied from cell to cell, making your spreadsheet a whole lot easier to maintain. My name is Albert Kitamirike, and on this channel I share insights from Microsoft Excel, some that are less known or understood but help to increase your efficiency in using this popular spreadsheet software. This video is the third and last in this series on cell references. In the last two videos, I explored relative and absolute references. If you have not already, I invite you to go and watch those. I have included a link to them in the description below, as well as up above somewhere on the screen. Be sure to stay around to the end of the video because I will share a tip on how to quickly set cell references, as well as a checklist that summarizes my thought process in working out the appropriate reference types to use. Today we take a look at mixed references. With mixed cell references, both relative and absolute references are represented. Either the column or row elements is fixed and the other is not. To help you decide whether mixed references should be used, take a few moments to think about what will happen when you copy the initial formula around the spreadsheet. As you paste a formula containing only relative references to another location, the new formula will no longer point to the original value. Let us consider a couple of examples. In the first example, we build a summary of our sales data by product ID and by customer ID. The product IDs are listed in the top row, while the customer IDs are listed in the left column of our summary table. We shall deploy the SUMIFS function to create our summary. Briefly, the SUMIFS function extends the functionality of its older sibling, SUMIF, and enables adding up of data based on not just a single criterion, but multiple ones. The following arguments are prescribed for the SUMIFS function. 1. The column that contains the values we intend to sum up. 2. The range that contains the criteria values we are going to test. And 3. The criteria or test that defines those cells we are interested in. If we have multiple criteria to test, as we do in this example, we shall include another pair of arguments for the range that contains the criteria values to test and the criteria. Right then, let us get started with assembling our initial formula. In the first cell of the summary area, I'm going to enter the initial formula, which is equal SUMIFS, open brackets. The first argument is the sum range, which is the range containing all of the sales amounts which we need to add up. And that is in G, and that is in column G, starting at row 5. So I will enter G5 to G103, which is the last row of our data source. The next argument will be all of our customer IDs in the data source, and they have to have the same dimensions in terms of number of rows. So these are in column D, and therefore I shall enter D5 to D103. The next argument is the customer for which we want to add up the sales amount column. That customer will be found in T5, which is in the left column of our summary table. The next argument will be the product IDs column in our data source, and these are found in column E. They also have to have exactly the same number of rows, and that will be E5 to E103. The final argument will be the singular product ID for which we need to add up the sales amounts, and that will be U4. So I will type in U4, close brackets, and press enter. And that is our initial formula there. Once we are done with that, we will consider what the copied formulas will refer to after pasting them in and decide which elements should be fixed or relative. Those references that should not change for every formula copy are fixed, and those that should change are kept as relative references. Lastly, we consider the direction of our copy action, by row or by column, and then modify our cell references to give us the outcome that we expect. If I did nothing else to this formula and just copied it across, the result would be incorrect because the column element in the references is changing as I switch columns. Similarly, if I copy it down, the row elements in the references change, and the results are incorrect, as you can see. So it's imperative that we must amend the formula before we copy it to any other part of our report. So let's do that. The first argument refers to the sales amount column. That needs to be a fixed range, so that as we copy it all over the report, it always refers to the sales amount column. So we shall fix that like so. The second argument refers to the customer ID range in our data source. That also needs to be a fixed range so that it doesn't change. That argument, T5, in this case, refers to the individual customer ID that we need to summarize on this line. That T5 should change as we copy the formula to different rows. We need, as we move down, to get the next customer ID and so on and so forth. So in this case, the only element that we need to fix is the column, which we do by inserting a $sign before the T. The next argument, E5 to E103, is the product ID range in our data. That also needs to be fixed. And finally, U4, that one there, refers to the individual product ID we need to summarize our data for. It's important that on this one, we fix the row element only, so that we're always referring to row number 4. And that's it. That's all the changes that are required. So now if we copy this formula those are the results that we get. A perfect sales summary. The final example demonstrates how to calculate cumulative totals using mixed references. The trick we shall use is to construct a range of values that can expand or contract as we copy the initial formula down or up. Let us see this in action. In the first cell of the column headed cumulative sales, I'm going to enter the formula equals sum G5 to G5. Because these are the amounts I'll need to calculate a cumulative equivalent for. So if I simply copy this formula down, you see, I simply reproduce what I have in the sales amount, and that's not what I'm looking for. What we need is the amount to keep increasing as we change the row. So the change that we need to make to the formula is only in the first cell reference, and we just need to convert that into a fixed reference. That means that as we copy it down, you see, the reference, the range inside the sum function expands, like so. It expands to accommodate the next row. So we can copy it to the rest of the range, and these are the results that we get. Brilliant. And now the tip. While in formula edit mode, using the F4 key, Microsoft Excel allows you to cycle through the different types of cell referencing available. Once you get to your preferred one, just press enter. To activate the formula edit mode, simply double-click the cell containing the formula. Alternatively, select the cell with the formula and press F2. Then place your cursor within the cell reference you need to edit. With the blinking cursor right there, press F4 repeatedly and Excel will insert the possible dollar signs for you. And now my thought process for choosing a referencing type. I always ask myself a series of questions. Do I need to copy the formula after writing it? If not, reference types should not matter. I shouldn't concern myself with reference types. But if I do, if I need to copy the formula, then I will consider the next questions and points. Should the value the formula returns change relative to the formula location? If not, use a fixed reference. However, if the value returned by the formula should change, then what is the copy and paste direction? If the direction is to copy across a row, that is, copying the formula into other columns, then I will fix the row element of the reference. However, if the direction is down or up a column, in other words, copying the formula to other rows, then fix the column element of the reference. That's it with cell references, a very important aspect of using Microsoft Excel efficiently. I hope the discussions I've provided have helped you to appreciate the application of and the differences between the three types of cell referencing. Feel free to review the playlist again to remind yourself of the full discussion. I would like to hear from you in the comments below any additional thoughts or feedback you may have. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons if this has been of value to you, as well as the bell icon so you get notified as soon as I release the next video. I'll see you on the next one.